NASCAR just introduced sweeping rules changes, including the banning of Ross Chastain's Hail Melon. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Today felt just like any other innocent Tuesday until NASCAR suddenly decided to blindside clobber us with sweeping procedural changes heading into the 2023 season. We'll get to all those and more in just a moment. First, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. The NASCAR season is right around the corner and the news cycle is heating up. Before we get to all the new penalties and new rules, earlier today, it was finally confirmed that Riley Herbst will indeed race in this year's Daytona 500, driving the 15 chartered entry for Rick Ware Racing, which means he is locked into the main event by default. He'll have sponsorship from Sunny D, who through a deal with Kevin Harvick's management company will also sponsor Harvick for 2 races this year during his final farewell tour season with Stewart-Haas Racing. As you guys can clearly see, I've been a fan of the Sunny D scheme in the past. I've actually never had Sunny D. Maybe when I was a kid, I had some sips of it here or there. I was always more of just a Minute Maid, lemonade, and orange juice guy. But the Sunny D schemes in recent years, I'm a huge fan of, so I can't wait to see what Riley Herbst's Ford and Kevin Harvick's Ford look like this season. But Herbst will race in the Daytona 500. He's also expected to compete in the other super speedway races this year. It'll be his Cup Series debut. I know a lot of people aren't super high on Riley Herbst. He's still yet to win a race in the NASCAR Truck or Xfinity Series, despite now several years of full-time competition. But this is big news for Stewart-Haas Racing, a team that I know we've talked about a lot in recent weeks. That team has gotten younger in recent years with Chase Briscoe, Cole Custer, now Ryan Preece, Kevin Harvick, Eric Almirola potentially on the way out. There will be more SHR seats to fill in the near future. This will be our first look at an SHR Xfinity driver getting his feet wet in the NASCAR Cup Series. So that is a storyline to watch out and follow. Good luck to Riley Herbst at Daytona. Now let's get to the big news. And we're just going to run through these. I've got thoughts on a lot of these new rules. There's a ton of them. Gonna be information overload a little bit, but let's start with some of the biggest and most noteworthy changes. First, NASCAR is eliminating stage cautions at all road courses this season. The only exceptions will be the standalone Xfinity and truck road course races. They will still have stage cautions. I don't really know why, but they will. NASCAR will still award points for the top 10 finishers, but they won't stop the field. The race will stay green. They'll just tally them up as they cross the finish line. This is something that for months now, if not years, many fans have been pleading NASCAR to consider. They've done more than that. They're actually making it a legit rule going into 2023. I like it. Road courses are unique compared to most ovals because you could typically pit under green and not lose a lap. So you'd have drivers pitting before the stage caution who would then leapfrog everyone who pit during the caution, and it just sucked. It sucked that a driver who dominated a stage had to choose between collecting the stage points that they've earned and giving up those stage points, but having a better shot maybe of getting the win at the end. You shouldn't have to compromise on that. If you were great in the stage, you should collect the stage points you earned and still have a shot at the win. It shouldn't be or. I'm not certain that this rules change will eliminate any of those weird strategies. Like at Sonoma, for example, you might have some teams employ a 3-stop strategy, planning to race for the win and not really caring about stage points. Others might go with like a 2-stop strategy, try to get stage points, not care as much about the win. You'll still get differing strategies. No matter what, I'm sure it'll be better than what we've had the last couple of seasons. We'll just have to wait and see. What I do know for sure is that these crew chiefs are going to need to dust off their calculators for the first time in years. The second big rule change NASCAR introduced today, they've banned the Hail Melon. That's right, the viral move that Ross Chastain pulled off at Martinsville last fall is now considered illegal. If you try that, NASCAR will assign you a time penalty at the end of the race. You can read this tweet from Jeff Gluck. He says that this rule now falls under an existing rule that such moves are, quote, deemed to compromise the safety of an event. I get it. Some fans will say it's kind of lame, and I understand that, but I think this rule makes sense. There are legit safety concerns. I mean, Ross Chastain was going so much faster than the rest of the field. If he rear-ends somebody coming off the corner with the cars the way they were last year, that would have been a safety concern for the driver. Of course, you're up against the catch fence close to the fans. It's a safety concern for the fans. And some of these tracks have, gates that may not be perfectly sealed. You just never know what you're going to hit when you're going so fast and you're completely out of control the way Chastain was. So it's a risky move. I think NASCAR banning it out of safety concerns is a fair and just decision. In my opinion, this just makes Ross Chastain's move even more legendary. It had never been done before, and now it will never be done again. One of a kind. Now I just can't wait to see what loophole Chastain exploits next. Whether it was Indy Road Course where he took the access road to almost steal the win. They penalized him for that one, which I still don't know was the right decision. The Martinsville deal, what's the next crazy, ballsy, bold move that the Melon Man will attempt? Like, honestly, that's what makes Ross Chastain so fun to watch. It's rare that a NASCAR driver has such a distinct driving style. Like, Tony Stewart was aggressive. Jeff Burton was clean and consistent. Ross Chastain is crazy. And oftentimes his crazy moves succeed. He almost won that Indy race. He made the championship 4 thanks to that Martinsville move. He's going to push the envelope. It's a reason to cheer for him, a reason to watch. NASCAR has also changed the penalty for a wheel falling off. Now, if a wheel falls off on the racetrack, it will be a 2-lap penalty right there during the race, as well as a 2-race suspension for 2 crew members. They weren't specific, but the way it reads indicates it would be 2 pit crew members suspended, not a crew chief. So that's different, because this past year, it was a 4-race suspension for both the crew chief and 2 crew members if a wheel fell off anywhere. This year, if it falls off on the track, 2-race suspension for 2 pit crew members and a 2-lap penalty right then and there. If the wheel falls off on pit road, however, under yellow, you'll go to the tail end of the field for the restart. Under green flag conditions, you'll have to serve a pass-through. I have 2 different opinions on this one. I think the first penalty for a wheel falling off on the track, 2-race suspension for 2 pit crew members, I think that's the right call. I think the 4-race suspension for crew chief and 2 pit crew members was a little steep. I understand the safety concerns, but with the next gen and the single lug nut the way it was, how new it was, teams trying to figure it out, especially early in the season, it was a little too steep, a little unfair in my opinion. Now, on the flip side, NASCAR is saying that if the wheel falls off on pit road, at worst you'll have to restart the tail end of the field. To me, that's not enough of a penalty. That's a little too lenient. We got lucky last year, nobody got hurt, but even on pit road, where cars are only going 50 miles per hour or so, if someone were to hit a wheel that's loose, rolling across the pit lane, and it went flying and potentially hit a pedestrian on pit road or an unsuspecting crew member, that could do serious damage. So I think the penalty for on-track issues, having it fall off, is good, is still severe enough, but not excessive. I think the penalty for a wheel falling off on pit road, it's not quite enough. I think they should have honestly just kind of kept it the same. 2-race suspension no matter where your wheel falls off. Just keep it simple. I understand nobody's trying to leave a wheel loose, but pit crews are always trying to go faster than their last pit stop. The penalty for a significant safety violation should still be severe, in my opinion. Next big change, the damage repair clock has been extended. Last season, if your car got damaged, if you were under the damaged vehicle policy, you had 6 minutes to repair and make minimum speed. During the playoffs, they extended it to 10 minutes. Now, next season, the time will be 7 minutes. Apparently, NASCAR found that it takes about 6.5 minutes to repair a broken toe link to replace it. So I guess they want to give teams at least a chance of getting that common part issue fixed. So that's fine with me. I'm not a huge fan of the damaged vehicle clock, generally speaking. I still think you see cars go out on track that aren't fully repaired, that are still a safety or competition concern. And I kind of miss when you could take a damaged car, go back into the garage, work on it for 100 laps, bring it back out. There's no hood on the car. There's tape all across the door. I don't know. There's something charming about that we've lost today. So I'm not a huge fan of the damaged vehicle clock anyways, but I'm glad to see it extended, even if it's just by 1 minute. Next up, a new oval wet weather package has been introduced for a handful of tracks. At the Coliseum, Martinsville, Richmond, New Hampshire, North Wilkesboro, Phoenix, IRP, and Milwaukee, teams will have the option to use wet weather tires during damp conditions. This is awesome news. Again, they're not going to race through an active rain shower, but now track drying, you don't have to wait an hour and a half. You may only have to wait 40 minutes. Just get the standing water off the track and you can go green faster. I think this is a good thing. So cool. A couple more changes. NASCAR is bringing the choose rule now to super speedways and dirt tracks. Fine by me. I'm a little worried about it on super speedways. I think now you'll see teammates trying to line up with each other so that they can push. It might lead to certain fast teams taking control of the race more easily. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to trying it. I want to see it in practice. At dirt races, at every other race, I've loved the choose rule. I think the choose rule was such a basic addition to the NASCAR rulebook that honestly, I'm not sure why it wasn't implemented 10 years earlier when they first introduced double file restarts. I'm not sure why it took the choose rule so long to make its way into NASCAR. So again, open to trying it, little concerned about super speedways. One last rule, and this one I just don't get. I'll be completely honest, not a fan of this rule whatsoever, but there are changes to playoff eligibility. A driver no longer has to be in the top 30 in points to be eligible to make the playoffs. And in Xfinity and trucks, you no longer have to be in the top 20. Now, if you're 31st in points, you get a win at Daytona, you're locked in, potentially. I don't get it. I don't like this rule whatsoever. It just already feels so easy to make the Cup Series playoffs. There's really only about 31, 32 remotely competitive cars in the Cup Series, and 16 make it in. That's half. It just seems like a lot, and it seems unnecessary. I don't mean to pick on them, but say next year, it's unlikely, but it could happen. Say a Spire car. Say Ty Dillon in the 77 or Cody Ware in the 51. Say one of those guys gets a win at Daytona. It's a rain-shortened race. Now they're in the playoffs, ahead of likely an RCR car, a Penske car, maybe even a Hendrick or a Gibbs car. I know it's unlikely, but the 77 car won at Daytona just a few years ago, so it could happen. I just don't like it. I don't think we need to make it any easier for teams to qualify for the playoffs. Teams who really don't have any business being in championship contention. It sounds harsh, but I mean, it's the truth. I understand that each year, if you're the 14th, 15th, or 16th seed, you're probably not a true championship contender anyway, so who cares if someone else takes that spot? I get that argument, but still, making the playoffs should be reserved for teams that truly deserve to be there. And someone who's 30th, I mean, last year, Corey LaJoie was like 31st, 32nd in points, almost won Atlanta. I love Corey LaJoie. Dude was nowhere close to being a playoff deserving team. I just don't think we need to make it any easier, in my opinion, but maybe that's just me. Maybe it doesn't matter. Again, this is a rule that's probably, over the next 10 years, may only come into play like once, but in my opinion, that would be one time too many. Anyways, those are all the latest and biggest rules, procedure changes that NASCAR, again, just clobbered us with this afternoon. Are there any you completely agree with, or are there any that you're just kind of scratching your head about, you're not a fan of? How do you feel about Ross Chastain's move being banned going forward? Do you think NASCAR made the right call? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. I really appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel and you love NASCAR, hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you, as always, to my Patreon supporters for continuing to support the show. Thank you so much for your very generous support. I will see you all again very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Take it easy, y'all.